Hi, how's everybody doing today? We just have a few people on now, so still got a minute or so before I jump in and get started. So I will let you know in a few minutes what we are going to be doing today. And it's really just an extension of what we started with last week. And I'm also going to show you what this leads to in the next class. So we're going to do all of that today. Hello. So today's going to be a painting day. We're basically learning another painting technique. And then we'll jump more into design in Thursday's class. So just give it a few minutes for people to jump on, but I will start like right at 6 o'clock. The next pickup day at the school will be Thursday. So Thursday from 4 to 6. You know what? I'm going to talk to Miss Kiosha because that time, it really kind of lines up with the class. And I don't know if they thought about that when they scheduled that. So as of right now, it is Thursday from 4 to 6, but I'll talk to Miss Kiosha about maybe switching up the time or doing it a different day, just so we can make sure you don't miss the class just in order to get the supplies. So we will let you guys know by email. Matter of fact, while we're sitting here, it's 4 now. I'm going to go ahead and send her a message. So I'm not sure if Mr. Jason is on here yet. I am going to send her a message so we can see if we can change the date of that. Let's see. Can we change? Hello to anybody kind of joining on right now. We are going to go ahead and get started. Again, I am Erin Kendrick. I am the visual art instructor at Jacksonville Art and Music School and a creative arts after school program in Jacksonville, Florida. We provide classes in visual art, music, vocal, dance, and film. We also have a robotics program and we also have a taekwondo program. So every day from 4 to 6, we have kids from all over Jacksonville, from a bunch of different schools in Jacksonville, who come and get more creative arts education from us. And since we are all out of school at this point in time, we decided to start doing some virtual art classes. And in the coming weeks, we will be adding some of the other art media as well. So some of the other classes like music and film and the dance and stuff like that. So those are coming. But right now, this was the kind of easiest one to get started with. And we open that up to all of our students and we open it up to the general public. So this is the second official class that we are starting today. And hopefully by the time we get done with this, I'll have better information for you. If you are in Jacksonville, the school, and from one of our great sponsors and donors, ViStar, we do have art supply kits that we have given out to our students, and we do have some extras for the public if they would like some. So if you don't have access to art supplies at home, so I'll try to find out by the time we leave this class today exactly what day and time our next pickup will be, where you can come up to the school and pick up the supplies. Right now it's scheduled for the same time as the class, I believe, and I want to make sure we get that changed. So, all right, so we're going to jump right in today. Last week we worked on some basic beginning painting and drawing skills. So we talked about basically how to draw like a well-crafted line, which in turn became a well-crafted circle. Really learning how to take your time, draw things neatly, close your circle so that the circle doesn't have like a little X on the end. Basic painting techniques like how to lay your brush, how to hold your brush, how to apply the paint. We're going to extend that today. We're going to continue talking about painting. We got this far last week. So this was the assignment last week, basic, just drawing circles and ovals as neat as possible, some floating, some bleeding off the edge, and then painting the different sections. So everything from the order of things, like how you paint different things on the page, how you keep one color of paint from bleeding into another color. We talked about all of that last week. Today we're going to continue with that. We're going to talk about how to really enhance your color on the page, how to change what's called your color values on the page, and just talk about like painting different coats and what's the best way to do that. And that will lead us into the design aspect. So we started here and we are headed to here. So when you start adding all these designs, so you can see the same like googly eye designs, but we just added a lot of different design elements. So we're not going to work on this part today. And this is the image from the class registration. All right, today we're just going to talk about creating one of these. This was our practice. So now we're going to create the design that will become our final project. Okay. So for today, you need your paper, pencil, either a pencil with an eraser, or if you don't have a pencil with an eraser, grab an eraser. You're going to need your watercolor. All right, so a basic watercolor set. I know some of you who picked up supplies, you may have a watercolor set that has like more than 8 colors. That is great for you because that just means you have more colors to choose from. Your paintbrush, paper towel, cup of water. All right. If you were not in the last class, this is not like exactly a live teaching class because we don't have like a huge camera set up here. So what I do is I am present here in the live class with everyone as you learn, but the demos and the teaching is done by pre-recorded video. So while I'm here live, I'll be showing you a pre-recorded video and we'll just take breaks during the video to ask questions and make sure everybody's on the same page. There are some parts of the video that sort of are dependent on what was learned in the last video. So in the last class. So if there are some things that we went over instruction-wise in the last class in terms of how to do it, in this class, some of them will be put on time-lapse. So some of the painting that we've done before will be put on time-lapse. So it may happen very quickly in this instructional class, but it's always something that you can go back and just complete after the class is over because all of these are really designed in a way that you may not finish them in the 45 minutes to an hour that we're live here, but you can always go back and see the videos. And then after the class, everything is typically available to you on the JAMS website, or you can go to the JAMS YouTube page. So I'll bring those up for you. I don't know if the JAMS website has been updated yet with the demo videos from today, but the demo videos from today will be on the YouTube channel. So you can access all those things now, and then you'll be able to access them after the class. So if some parts go too fast and you need to kind of go back and check on some things, you can always just check the demo videos because they'll be available to you after class. All right, any questions before we jump in today? You guys ready to get going? All right, today is mostly painting. You will do some drawing with your pencil, but today is mostly painting. And I'll just kind of check as we go along. If you have any questions as we go along, just throw them in the chat. I know I miss seeing my students' faces. I know you guys miss seeing each other's faces. So we are working on possibly shifting to a different format. I'll pull it up and put it in the chat, Jamari, while the demos are playing. So I know you guys are used to seeing, miss seeing each other. So while Crowdcast, what we're using right now is called Crowdcast. This is working for us now. We are looking at some other options so that we can see each other's faces and really interact like we would in a regular class. So just keep looking out for that because we do want you guys to be able to see each other and interact in more ways than just to chat. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and get going. So just grab your supplies really quick. I am going to set up the shared screen so you can see the video. Today we have like two about 14 to 15 minute videos, and we are basically today going to be talking about how to really master painting and color when it comes to watercolor, and how to really sort of make your colors more vibrant in particular areas, make them more lighter. more light in other areas. So we're going to talk a little bit about value and lightness and darkness and how we get that across in watercolor paint. For those of you who are some of my older students and you've done some of this stuff before, as I said last week, use this as an opportunity to get better. We can always get better. We can always kind of pick up new tips and things like that in the process. So please just stick with it. Do what's being asked of you. And if you want to kind of alter your design, so maybe you don't necessarily want to do like the circle designs or something like that because you feel like you're a little bit beyond that in terms of like your skill. If you want to alter your design and what you're drawing, that is completely up to you. But just make sure you're paying attention to the painting instructions. All right. Let me close this, bring this up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play this video. If there are no questions, I will put the JAMS YouTube address over in the chat box once this video gets going. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start this for you guys. Why is it way down there? Okay. So just ask questions.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about some more painting techniques, and we're going to talk about what's called coats of paint. Coats of paint are the number of layers of paint that you put into a painting. That means you paint something one time, you let it dry. That's one coat. If you paint the same thing a second time in the same color, that's two coats. And you let that dry. Then if you paint the same thing the third time in the same color, that's three coats, okay? So we're talking about coats of paint. How many layers of paint you put onto the same thing, the same part of the painting, will determine how vibrant and how bright the color can be, okay? So the first thing I want you to do on your paper is you're going to draw three fairly large circles. Remember, the same rules apply to your circles. Start and stop in the same place. Draw them neatly, draw them slowly, okay? Over each circle, you're going to write a 1 for one coat of paint, a 2 for two coats of paint, and a 3 for three coats of paint. Okay. Now you can pick any color you want for this. I have my watercolors out. I have my cup of water and my brush. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to get those things together. All right, watercolors, your cup of water, and your brush. That's what you're going to need today. Hello, everyone.
All right, it shouldn't be starting over there. So let me move ahead a little bit and make sure that's where you should be. All right, so the only difference in that first, which should have been edited out, that first one is that I just put the 1, the 2, and the 3 at the top, and then this one I put the 1, the 2, and the 3 in the circle. So either one is fine. So I'm going to start it from here.
So you're going to take your brush with your water, get your brush wet, pick a color, doesn't matter which color you choose. Today I'm going to go with blue. I'm going to put a little bit of water into my blue well. See how I'm adding the water. See, it's wet, like a little puddle in there. All right, I'm going to stick my brush back in my water so that I know my brush is pretty wet. So put my brush back in my water so I know that the brush is pretty wet. I'm going to grab a little bit of that blue paint and I'm going to start to paint in my first circle. I'm going to paint the inside first. My yard is being cut. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. I'm going to paint in my first circle using the same techniques we talked about in the last class. You're going to take your brush, you're going to drag it along the edge to help stay in the lines. All right. So that is my first coat of paint. So if you want to have a color that's really light, if you add more water to it, so more water than the paint out of your paint well, then you can make the color really light, okay? We're gonna do the exact same thing in number 2, because this is our first coat of paint. So I'm gonna fill paint in the center, and then I'm gonna start to drag my brush along the edge. You'll notice that the paint's a little darker in my second circle. And that's because when the water sits in the paint well like that for a little bit of time, or even a long period of time, it really starts to mix with the paint color, and it makes the color a little bit more vibrant. So that's one way you can make your color brighter. It's just by letting the water sit in the well for a little bit longer. All right, but this is still just our first coat of paint, even though it's a little brighter. So in each of our 3 circles, we are going to put 1 coat of paint. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing to my third one. I wanna have more water on my brush than paint. I'm gonna fill the middle, and then I'm gonna start to paint around the edges by dragging my brush along the edge. To stay in the lines. All right, now even as bright as number 2 is, if I want to make it lighter, I can just stick my brush in the paint. Stick my brush in the water. I'm not going to put it in the paint, but then I can add a little bit of water to it and pick some of that paint up. Then I'm going to rinse it off in my cup of water. So you can actually do that if you want to make a color a little bit lighter. So you can use the water to take out some of that bright color. So that's just a little extra tip for you. All right, so this is 1 coat of paint. I put 1 coat of paint on each circle. So I painted this circle once, I painted this circle once, and I painted this circle once. All right, now we have to let that dry. Okay, same as always, you're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna paint a second coat of paint on number 2 and number 3. All right, so let that dry. While we let that dry, we're going to work on some of the drawing for our next project. All right.
So you can set that aside and get a new sheet.
All right, so in the last class, you learned how to draw the different googly eyes, and you learned how to paint the different googly eyes. So now that you know how to draw them, meaning you know how to draw different size circles and ovals neatly, slowly, and you know how to close the circles off so that you start and stop in the same place. And you also learned how to paint them. You learned how to paint 1 color at a time. You learned how to let the color dry before you paint another section next to it. And you learn how to stay in the lines by just dragging your brush along the edge of the line and just going slow. One of the biggest lessons you got to learn in all this is to slow down. Everything does not have to happen quickly. And if you're wanting to keep working, you can do what I just did. I stopped one thing to let it dry, and I'm starting another. So that helps me sort of not worry about trying to go so fast and get finished so fast. You can work on more than one thing at a time. So now we're going to take that googly eye design and we're going to turn it into something else. So we're going to use the same shapes and we're going to turn it into a different design. All right, so I'm going to start by adding, you can add 4 to 5 different googly eyes to your page, however you want. So I'm going to start at the edge over here. Pretty similar to what we did last week in the last class. Remember, start and stop your circles in the same place.
So this is like the time lapse because we've talked about how to draw this before. So it just goes a little bit faster, just to let you know.
And then I'm not going to give you a lot of rules for how you paint this one.
So I'm going to pause this now. So you basically are just drawing out your design on your paper at this point. So whatever kind of design you want to do, if you want to make it look like mine, you want to make it look different from mine, because we are making this, turning this into either a garden or a galaxy, which will be Thursday's class. I do want you to have more than what you did last week. So we want to have at least 4 to 5 of these on the page. So you're just kind of drawing out your design right now. And then we're going to jump into the painting part. All right. I did just put the YouTube address. It's a long YouTube address in there in the chat box. Because I can't figure out if there is a short one that says like JAMS or something like that. So just for now, I went ahead and put the longer YouTube web address for the page in the chat box. So you can access that after the class. Hi, Zion. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play the video. And it's going to start talking through like going from the drawing to the painting.
You just have to keep in mind that you don't want to paint 2 sections that are next to each other. So you can paint these in different colors. Just use the same rules from before where you don't paint 2 sections that are next to each other. So I am going to, let's see, I'm going to start with, I'm going to grab my water, my brush. It's a little bit blue from the other thing I was painting, but that's okay. I'm going to go with the red this time. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in my red. We are going to add the first coat of paint to this new drawing. All right, so I'm going to start by putting a little bit of color in the middle. Remember, turn your paper instead of turning your hand. And I am going to just drag my brush along the edge. And when it gets uncomfortable, when I can't turn my hand, I'm going to turn the paper. If I can't see what I'm doing, then I turn the paper so that I can see. And just drag along the edge to stay in the lines. I want to just keep going until I fill that whole section. And just keep adding paint. If your paintbrush gets a little dry and you feel like you need some more paint, just get some more paint on your brush. Fill in that whole section. Even your color out. So in places where it may be a little bit too light, just add a little bit more paint to it. All right, and then you just decide what you want to do for the rest of the painting. But right.
All right, so it's going to jump into another time lapse. And this is just basically going through the painting process. So just for the sake of time, in terms of me having this 1 hour to teach, for this class, like during the actual live class, you may want to just work on one of your shapes. You don't necessarily have to paint everything on the page right now during the class. So don't feel like because the time lapse is going so fast that you have to go that fast. Just kind of work on 1 or 2 of your shapes during the class and you can finish the rest afterwards. reminding you not to paint two sections that are next to each other and just wet paint it. So I'm painting the little dots because they don't sit next to the larger outer ring. You don't want to paint two sections of wet paint that are right next to each other. I'm going to let this dry. All right. So this is our first video. So right now, what I'm going to do is sort of switch up the videos, and we're going to talk about adding those other coats of paint. Right now, all of you should have, at least on one part of your painting, you have that one coat of paint, and we are getting ready to start talking through painting coats 2 and 3. All right, so far, you should have something drawn out on your page. You should have started or be in the process of painting that first coat of paint onto your work, and then we're going to just let that dry. For the rest of the demo videos today, you are going to switch back and forth between your 3 circles. My circles were blue. You're going to switch back and forth between working on that and your different coats of paint there, and then working on your assignment and the different coats of paint there. All right. So here, let me switch my screens out. I'm going to switch to the second video. Zion, make sure you're working and not just chatting in the chat box. All right, we're going to jump into part 2. So right now for this one, after you get that first coat of paint done on your final drawing, you can go ahead and set that to the side and let that first coat of paint dry. And we're going to go back to the 3 circles that we are doing the exercise on. All right, let me make this larger. Okay, here we go. On the second video, that is part 1. This is part 2. Okay, I am back to my original sheet that I started today with my first coat of paint. So I took each circle and I put 1 coat of paint in each circle, meaning I painted that circle 1 time. So this number 1 will always be my circle with 1 coat of paint. Circle number 2 and circle number 3, I am going to put a second coat of paint in each circle right now. So I'm going to take my brush. See, my water is starting to get a little dirty, but that's okay. I'm going to use the same color, so I'm still using my blue paint. I'm going to put a little water in my blue paint. Now, because water has been sitting in the well for a little while, it's going to make the paint a little brighter. So in in circle 2 and in circle 3, I'm going to paint a second coat. So I'm going to work right on top of what I have. Same thing. Lay your brush down, drag it along the line. You can already see how it's a lot brighter and a lot darker than my first coat of paint. I'm going to pause it for a minute just to kind of give you one extra teaching tip. In terms of painting coats of paint, you do need to let the paint dry in between the coats of paint. If you try to add a second coat of wet paint into an already, if your first coat is still wet and you start painting your second coat into that wet paint, all you're really going to do, it may get a little darker, but you're really just going to start moving paint around. Or if you remember in the very beginning when I had to take some of the color out to make it lighter, because the paint is still wet, you may actually be removing the paint with the wet brush versus adding more paint to it. So it's really important that you let the paint dry before you paint the second coat. All right, turn it back on. And I'm just using the water to help move it around. Lay my brush down, drag it along the edge. And I want to paint the whole thing. And that's my second coat of paint. I'm going to do the same thing in my third
circle, because I can't get to 3 coats of paint if I don't get to 2 coats of paint. So I am going to put a second coat of paint in my 3rd circle also. Kind of fill the middle. That's the easy part to paint because I know I'm not going to go out of the line. And then as I work my way out to the edge, then I start to drag my brush. I just add a little bit more paint to my brush when I need it. I add a little water to my brush when I need it. I move the paper when it gets uncomfortable to move my hand, and I just keep going until I fill this whole circle with the second coat of paint. I look at it, I try to see like where it may be lighter, like it's a little lighter over here. So I just want to move that paint around and try to fill the color in to make it as even as I can. All right. So now circles 2 and circle 3 have a second coat of paint. Circle 1 has 1 coat of paint. 2 and 3 have 2 coats of paint. All right. The paint is wet, so I have to let it dry before I can paint the 3rd coat of paint in number 3.
All right, so we are going to
add a second coat of.
We're going to set that one aside and let that dry. So hopefully you are painting along with the video, painting your second coat of paint. And you are just going to set that one aside. I'm just trying to give you time to kind of set it aside. Set that aside and go back to your drawing that you should have painted your first coat of paint on. And now we're going to talk through adding some of those extra coats of paint. All right.
We're going to add a second coat of paint to different places in this painting. And again, you're going to pick and choose. You choose what you want to do. I am going to paint the outer rim of this one, my orange outer rim, my purple outer rim, and this red outer rim. I'm going to put a second coat of paint on those. So same as always, some water on my brush. I'm going to start with my orange. I'm going to get some orange paint on my brush. I am only painting the orange section, and I'm going to add a second coat of paint. Same as always, drag that brush along the edge to keep a clean line. Try your best to stay in the lines. Of course, my painting was dry when I started this, so I am not painting wet paint next to wet paint. Turn the paper when it gets uncomfortable to turn your hand. And I'm just gonna drag that brush. Oops, I went out of the lines a little bit. That's okay for now. Might happen. All right, so do you see how my orange got darker? And it really looks a little darker than everything on the page because of that second coat of paint. So I'm gonna clean my brush out, get that orange paint out of the brush, rub it up against the bottom of the cup. And now I'm going to work on my red over here.
All right, so it's going to jump into the painting time lapse from here. I'm answering Zion's question. She asked, is this practice? You did the practice one last week. So the one that you're starting to work on today is going to be your final drawing for this project. We're gonna start it today and finish it on Thursday. But just because we only have like an hour to do this class, and you know it, just in regular class, we can never really finish an assignment in one class. You're really just starting it while you're watching the video and just learning the things in the video. And then after you're done watching the video, and maybe over the next couple days, you can finish out this first part of the video. So today, you're really just working on a little bit of your painting, and you'll finish it later, okay? So this is just going to jump into me painting some different parts of my painting with the second coat of paint. So that's what you're about to see in this time lapse. Jamari, I'll answer your question in the chat because that's not what we're talking about today.
Okay.
All right. So that was painting the second coat of paint on your actual assignment. So I know you're not going to get through with the entire thing right now. So just pick one part of it for right now during the class to go ahead and get a second coat of paint done, just so you can see the difference. You can see the difference from one coat of paint to the next. So go ahead and get that second coat of paint done in one part of your drawing, your painting right now. And then you're going to we need to let that dry, of course. So in order to let that dry, we're going to just switch out and then switch back to your circles. And then we're going to talk about adding that third coat of paint on your circles. Now, depending on how much water you use in these pieces, if you're, because we're doing this like 30 to 45-minute video, your circles that we're working on here may not be completely dry right now. You can use like a little fan if you have a little fan available or something like that to get it to dry a little faster. But in the meantime, go ahead and just keep following along with the video, and then keep in mind that after the video is over, after this live class is over, you can go back and finish up some of the things that you were not able to finish up during this video. All right, so we're going to jump back to this sheet with the circles, and we're going to work on that third coat of paint.
Our 2 coats of paint are dry. So in my number 1 circle, there is 1 coat of paint. That means I painted it once in blue paint. In my second and third circles, I have 2 coats of paint now, mainly focused on circle number 2. That means I have painted the circle twice. So I painted it once in blue and I let it dry. Then I painted it a second time in blue and I let it dry. Now in my third circle, I am going to paint a third coat of paint. Because just like number 2, I put 2 coats of paint in here already. And now I'm going to add a third coat of paint so you can see what happens to the color. So I'm starting the way I always do. I have my water. I do have clean water now. You decide when you need to get clean water, completely up to you. And I'm going to get my blue paint, like always. I'll grab that. All right, there's my blue paint. Put a little water in there. It's been sitting for a while with some water in it, so it could make the color pretty bold, pretty bright. So, and then just like before, I'm gonna move it to the middle. Just like before, I'm gonna start to paint a third coat of paint into my circle. And this lets you know what it looks like when you add more than one coat of paint to your work. I'm just doing the same thing I've done the entire time. I fill some paint into the middle, and then I start to just lay my brush down to make a clean edge, drag it along the line. You can barely see my pencil line now, but it is still there. And now I'm just moving the paint around to even out the color. All right, and now you have what's essentially called a value scale. And that's showing a color from dark to light. So you have a light blue, you have more or less a regular blue, and you have a darker blue. So light, middle, dark. All right, 1 coat of paint, 2 coats of paint, 3 coats of paint. And then I just let this dry the same way that I did with the other 3. And then this shows you how you can change up the colors on the different pieces that you're working on. Okay?
All right, so again, we're going to set that one aside. After you paint that third coat of paint onto it, hopefully with your practice piece, you can start to see the difference in the colors from one to the next, from 1 coat to 2 coats to 3 coats. So once you have that third coat of blue or whatever color you're using, you may not be using blue. Once you have that third coat of paint done, then you're just going to set that aside so that it can dry. And then we're going to come back to our actual painting, the one that we're working on for the assignment. So that's what you see on the screen right now. So this is my assignment, and you can see on here where I painted the second coat of paint in that orange outer rim, the red outer rim, and then the green interior, the green inside space inside the yellow. I painted a second coat of paint, so they look a little darker than the ones with the first coat of paint. So hopefully everybody kind of has switched out their pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and play this part where we are adding the third coat of paint to the final piece. All right, now I'm going to add a third coat of paint to just a couple of my different shapes in my painting. So not a lot. Remember from the painting exercise at the beginning, 1 coat of paint gives you like a light color. 2 coats of paint give you a middle, kind of more even color, more or less the color as you know it. And then 3 coats of paint makes it a little bit darker. All right, so you see less of the pencil lines. All right, so I am going to add a third coat of paint to just a couple of the spaces on my painting. I'm going to add a third coat of paint to the orange rim here. I'm going to add a third coat of paint to my blue space here. And I am going to add a third coat of paint to my yellow dot here. All right, that's it. Now keep in mind, you can only paint 3 coats if you painted 2 coats. So you have to remember where you painted 2 coats before. All right, I am going to start the same way I always do. Grab a little bit of water. Wet my brush. The yellow is my lightest and smallest part of the painting that I need to add another coat to. So I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to get my yellow paint. Don't need a lot. It's a tiny little spot. And I'm going to add a third coat of paint. Again, with the yellow, it's not going to make a huge difference because the color itself is so light.
but I just wanted it to be a little bit bolder, a little bit brighter. So I added a third coat. I'm going to clean out my brush. And now,
all right. So I'm starting to add the third coat of paint here. And the time lapse will just go through me picking, I think I just picked maybe like 2 or 3 spots on the painting to add a third coat, because I do want there to be some lighter parts, some sort of middle tone parts, and some darker parts. So some light parts of the painting, some middle parts of the painting, and some darker parts of the painting. Someone asked, can we paint the outside on the other sheet? The one with the 3 circles? Yes, if you want to do that, that's fine. On the actual assignment sheet, though, do not paint the background yet. We're going to talk about painting the background in Thursday's class. So on your practice sheet with the 3 circles where you were learning how to paint the coats of paint, you can go ahead and paint that background if you want. On the assignment sheet, the one that we're working on right now, do not paint the background yet. And I'll show you the instruction sheet and everything once the class is over. So you have that to refer to after this live class today. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play this time lapse. So this is me adding the third coat of paint in some areas. And just be mindful, you cannot add a third coat of paint if you've never done the second coat of paint. So you gotta have a second coat of paint in order to get to a third. So I'm painting in the places where I have already painted a second coat of paint. You can see how it starts to get darker in those places where I'm adding the third coat of paint. So if you've ever done a watercolor painting, all right, so I got that done. So if you've ever done a watercolor painting and it all kind of looks really light and you want your colors to be brighter, it's really because you just aren't letting it dry and adding coats of paint. So this just teaches you how to make your watercolor paintings a lot brighter by adding coats of paint. So now I have parts of my painting that have 1 coat. See how light it is? Parts of my painting that have 2 coats. So it's more of like a true red, a good bright red. And then some parts that have 3 coats. So I get more of a dark color, okay? So light, medium, and dark. All right, so this is going to show you kind of where we're going from here. We're at about 47 minutes in this class, so there's not too much time left. So what you're going to do between now and Thursday's class is you are going to finish out your painting. So you're going to, however, you should have drawn like 4 to 5 googly eyes or whatever design across your page. You're going to make sure that you paint 1 coat over the whole painting, everything except for the background. Do not paint the background. All right, so you're going to, I'm going to move this forward just a little bit so you can see mine. All right, so this is kind of where you'll be once we get to Thursday. So by Thursday, you should have a design drawn, it should be painted, and it should have different sections that have 1, 2, or 3 coats of paint. All right. There is an instruction sheet that explains that, and I'll show that to you, but I just wanted to talk you through it before, okay? Now let this keep going. It's going to show you what we're going to turn this into. So one option is a garden. So we're going to add some different design elements to make it a garden, and another option is a galaxy. So we're going to add some design elements to make it look like a galaxy. So that's pretty much where we are for this class today. And I'm going to show you some of the other things that you need to see. Pause that. And I'm going to switch the screen up a little bit. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know when you're learning in this live video, it all goes really fast, but just keep in mind that you can always go back to the videos. It's getting darker in here. I need to turn on the light. Let's see. I hope you guys are working and not just playing in the chat box. All right, I'm going to bring up, here is I'm sharing the screen with the instruction sheet, and this will be added to the website hopefully by like the end of the day today. So you'll be able to just download it or print it if you need to. But this is just going over what we've done today. So this is what we're talking about today, just getting the painting done and adding the 3 coats of paint in different areas. This is what we're headed to with this assignment. You won't do both, or if you want to do both, I'll say this, you can do both if you want. If you want to do both, then you're going to need to do 2 of these paintings, okay? So you can do 2 different paintings if you want, if you have time. So if you want to do both the garden and the galaxy, you're going to need to do 2 of these paintings, okay? Then, so next week, I'm going to talk you through how to do the garden picture. And then I'm going to talk you through how to do the galaxy one, all right? And this will be our first completed assignment. And everybody who completes this assignment will have a way for you to turn it in. And then we'll put a gallery of everybody's work up on the website. All right. Does anybody have any questions for me in today's class? If you do, please put your questions in the chat box. I did speak to Miss Kiosha while the class was going on. It looks like we're going to do the next supply distribution. I'm going to put it in the chat box. Let me get the date. We're not going to do it until Monday. So we're going to do, Monday is going to be the 6th. So supply distribution will be Monday, April 6th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. All right, so if you did not get, if you didn't get supplies yet and you don't have any at home, don't worry about it. You can always go back to this assignment once you get supplies. I need to turn the light on. You can always go back to this assignment once you, there you go, once you get some supplies and do it later. Next week, we're going to start a different assignment also. So you'll be able to use your supplies to do the new project. I see that Hannah said, I forgot how to make it not bleed. Meaning like, do you mean like the colors mixing together, or do you mean bleed off the edge of the page? So throw in the chat box if you just mean how to not make the colors mix together. So tell me what you mean, Hannah. Hannah or David, I'm not sure which one of you it is. And if anybody else has any questions, just put them in the chat box and I'll answer them before we go. On the outer part of the page, all you're doing there, I'll kind of grab a sheet of paper and show you here. I'm going to do it with a marker so I can make sure you can see it. So you have the option, you guys see? You have the option with your googly eyes to make them float. Now I'm drawing, I'm not even looking at my paper, so I'm going to try to make sure these touch. It might be kind of funny looking. To make them float in the middle of the page, or you can make them bleed off the edge. If you're going to make it bleed off the edge, you're just going to start from the edge of the page. I'm going to go around, kind of like a half circle, and I'm going to let it run off the end of the page. And then my circles and ovals on the inside of it will do the exact same thing. My little circle can float, or depending on what you're doing, you can make it run off the edge. All right, so that's how you do that. See that? So this one is floating. It's really ugly. Just ignore that. This one is floating and this one is bleeding off the edge, meaning it comes off the edge of the paper. Okay? Any other questions before we get going? Hannah, if you need to see that, just look at the old videos from last week. Just go to the YouTube page, or you can go to the JAMS page and go to the JAMS page and you can see the videos from last week. This will be due. You really need to have it done. I'll let you know on Thursday, but you want to really have it done by like Sunday. That way you can get them emailed to me and we can go ahead and get like the gallery loaded by Tuesday's class. So just take your time, work through the videos, try to get it done by Sunday at the latest. So you have plenty of time to do this. You have plenty of time to let the paint dry in between adding paint. And then we will be able to get it once you guys send them to us, and we'll give you instructions on how to do that. Once you get your images sent to us, then we'll be able to get them all set up and loaded onto the website gallery. All right. You are welcome. You are welcome. It's up to you, Jamari. So Jamari asked, do we have to do both the garden and the galaxy? You only need to do one, so you can pick one or the other. But if you want to do both, you can. That's completely up to you. But you only need to do one. You're welcome. Right now, I am going to keep up. For those of you who are JAMS students who are on here, I will assign points to each of these. It's hard for me to say if you will get dojo points right now, because I don't know if we're going to go back in the building and be able to access all of that. So I'll have a conversation with Mr. Jason and Miss Angela to kind of talk through that and see if we can add dojo points to the system still right now, even though we're not in school. So I'm not sure about that right now. But in the meantime, okay, Mr. Jason said, yes, we can. So I will, let's see. I need to assign dojo points. I will put on the worksheet. So this worksheet that you're looking at here, I will go in and just edit it really quick and put on the worksheet how many dojo points you guys can get per assignment. So that's for those of you who are students at JAMS, who are enrolled students at JAMS. I will assign dojo points to each of the assignments so you can get some extra points for getting this stuff done. All right, any more questions? Yep, we want to make sure you guys get your points. Uh-oh. Did y'all see that in the chat? Mr. Jason said that he has prizes for the best work. Okay. That means you need to be working very hard to make the best image that you can. Not sure what you're asking. I'm not sure if that's Desiree or yeah, Desiree. I'm not sure what you're asking. How will we do what? Oh, we'll get it to you. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we'll make a way to get it to you. We'll get that figured out. That's an easy something to figure out. So don't worry. But it sounds like you're going to be working very hard to win that prize. So just make the best image you can, so that that's a problem that we have to figure out for you. Okay, any other questions in this last 2 minutes of the class? I don't think we know yet in terms of what kind of prize. We'll see. Yes, that's a good something to add for the end of the class, Jamari. Everybody stay healthy. Everybody stay inside. We don't want anybody to get sick. We want to make sure we are taking care of each other, taking care of our parents and our guardians. All right, so everybody just stay inside, stay healthy, keep drinking your fluids. We'll get back to normal sooner or later. All right, anything else? We got 1 minute left. Yes, please tell all of your friends to be in the next class, like Mr. Jason said. If they want to be able to catch up, they can always just jump onto the JAMS website or jump onto the JAMS YouTube page to watch the videos to figure out what to do. All right? So you can always jump on if you need to. And then just for my older kids, just know that I have something in the works for you. I have a lot to figure out with these online classes, but I know my older kids want to do some more advanced drawing type things or advanced painting type things. And then, so just bear with me. Yes, I would love to have 100 students in this class. Last week we had 33. Today we have 16. So tell all your friends to come back to class. We're going to do some fun stuff. Next week is the week before Easter. So we're going to do some things. We're going to switch from painting to color pencils next week in terms of our drawing. And then we're also going to do something with egg decorating. So let your parents know if you're on here now, you'll need at least 1 to 2 boiled eggs. We'll send that out in an email. You should not be boiling eggs yourself. So please don't boil any eggs yourself. But we will let your parents know that you will need 2 boiled eggs for next Thursday's class. So we'll send that out in an email. The next week, we're going to do a drawing that has to do with egg hunting, and we will do some egg decorating with our paint. Every week, it's everything that has one of these finished assignment sheets. So this project too, this Gardens and Galaxies is an assignment. Is that part of the assignment or do we not? The drawing part for next week will be a part of the assignment. And then the egg decorating part, we'll just use that as like some extra dojo points. So I'll always let you know, starting today, I'll always let you know on your worksheet how many supplies. Mr. Jason Kiosha, Miss Kiosha said Monday at 4, from 4 to 6 for supply giveaway. All right, any more questions, guys? We are over our hour, so we need to let everybody go. So you guys can start to sign off. And just know, like I said at the beginning, we know that you guys want to see each other. And I want to see you too. I miss my students. I miss all my JAMS kids. So we are working on finding a different program to use so that we can all see each other during the class. Just bear with us until we do it. All right. Bye, everybody. Y'all can start to log off. This class will be saved. So about 5 minutes after this is done, it will be accessible. So you can just click right back on that link and watch the whole class again if you want. Bye. All right, I am going to go ahead and sign off now. Everybody have a great night. I will see you on Thursday.